Ready to master your Python setup with Anaconda? Let me show you how to install Anaconda and start coding with VS Code or Jupyter Notebook, the perfect combination for data science, machine learning, and more. In this video, I'll guide you through the installation of Anaconda, setting up VS Code, and share some other pro tips. Things like keeping your environment up to date or setting up keyboard shortcuts. So if you're starting off fresh, here's how to download and install Anaconda. Linked on the channel is my GitHub, which has a step-by-step guide you can follow along with. But the first step is going to be going to anaconda.com and then clicking this free download option. You'll be able to sign up with your email or just skip that, and you'll be taken to the download now page. You can download on Windows, Mac, or Linux. For this example, I'll be downloading on Windows. Anaconda itself is pre-installed with a whole bunch of data science packages. You can also download Miniconda, which is down here a little bit. And Miniconda is a more lean version that only has Python and Conda installed, so you can download whatever machine learning or data science packages you need. With that being said, we now have the downloading complete, and this brings us to step 2, installation of Anaconda. Let's click through next. I agree. We'll do the recommended, and then here we can browse our location that we want Anaconda to be installed in. For my PC, I have all of my programs in my D drive, and then for pretty much everything else, I'm going to leave it as default, and then click install. Once this is done, we can click next, next, and then let's go ahead and finish up the installation process. And now this brings us to step 3. Let's go ahead and verify the installation. We can do that by checking 2 main apps, Anaconda Prompt and Anaconda Navigator. Let's start with prompts first because that's the easiest, most straightforward way, and we can go ahead and build out a little environment and everything like that. So let's do conda -- version, and what this will do is return what version we're running on. We just installed Anaconda, we verified that it's working on our machine, but you're probably wondering, what is Anaconda, and why did we just install it? Well, Anaconda makes managing environments on Python extremely easy. An environment on Anaconda is an isolated workspace where you can install a specific version of Python or library, keeping them separated from other projects for compatibility and dependency management. All right, and now that we have that little bit of background, let's go ahead and make our first environment. We'll do that still in the Anaconda prompt by typing conda create -- name, the name of our environment, in our example, data science, and what package we want to install with it. For now, we'll just include NumPy. Pressing enter, this will go ahead and start downloading all the dependencies for that. Once this installation process is done, at the very bottom, you'll see how to activate the environment and deactivate it. One thing that I wanted to point out here is the parentheses base is our root environment. And then by activating our data science one, you can see now we're in parentheses data science. All of my code lives on my E drive, so let's navigate there now. And we'll change directory to code/python. You can do this by cd code, followed by cd python. Next, what we can do is also, from terminal, open up a Jupyter Notebook environment. This is going to open the working directory that you have pointed to, so make sure you point it to the correct one. Typing in Jupyter Notebook in the terminal will open this in your local host, and so we can go up here and create a new Jupyter Notebook. The nice thing about Jupyter Notebook is it's not like a traditional IDE, instead it's interactive, meaning that you can add text and images, and you can see that by changing the cell to a markdown. Anyone familiar with GitHub will know a .md file right away, but we'll have other guides going more in depth into this. For now, let's do another cell and just add in a print hello world. So the important thing to know for Jupyter Notebooks is you can have cells, and these cells can be code or markdowns, etc. We can see the return right under that cell. One thing I wanted to point out is you can define what Python version you want to run on, and then for having multiple packages, simply add a space in between them. The second app that Anaconda installs is Anaconda Navigator. This is a graphical user interface, GUI for short, that allows you to manage Conda environments, install or update packages, and launch applications like Jupyter Notebook without using the terminal. So back on our PC, let's, in the search bar, type in Anaconda Navigator and load it up. You can see this is the graphical user interface, the GUI for it, and you can see programs like Jupyter Notebook and VS Code. I actually can't click anywhere right now because we have this annoying update bar. So let's go ahead and update our Anaconda Navigator. One thing I wanted to mention real quick is if we go back into the Anaconda prompt, we can actually update it from here as well by doing conda update conda. But because we have this updater, let's just click the update now. And once that finishes, we can go ahead and launch the Navigator. Alright, so let's take a look at some of the other programs we have. One that I wanted to point out here is RStudio and Spider. And at the top left, you can see the different environments as a drop-down. Let's switch over to our data science environment. And at this point, we've covered the Anaconda Prompt, Jupyter Notebook, and the Anaconda Navigator. Let's now go ahead and launch VS Code. In VS Code, if it's your first time loading it up, you will have a few different options such as theme, setting up your settings, and then even syncing it across devices. I'd highly recommend taking your time and going through these to make sure your VS Code is set up the way you like. And the very last step here is tutorial guides. VS Code has some great tutorial guides, so if it's your first time coding in here, I'd highly recommend kind of getting it set up the way you like it and going through the tutorials when you have time. For this coding example, we'll just kind of skip through all these and start a new file. So I'll do a hashtag hello world. In VS Code, the hashtag is just a comment outline, and then we'll do print hello world. Doing Shift Enter actually opens this other window. So this is a Python REPL window, and this allows you to do like interactive code, debugging, and things like that. I absolutely hate it. What I'm used to is Shift Enter is just running the one line in my terminal. So we can also just run the code by pressing the play button, and that will do it how I want it, just running it in the terminal. So a real quick tangent, I know we're on a different little bit of code now, but we can go up here to the search bar in VS Code and type in keyboard shortcut reference. And then we can search specifically Python and running the Python code. We can see here select line in Python REPL is Shift Enter, along with selecting a line and running it in the Python terminal is also Shift Enter. So I'm used to Shift Enter being the second one. So let's go ahead and change the REPL into Control Shift Enter, just so it's not overlapping. And just going back to the small tangent we have here, I'm going to run the first few lines and print my data path. And you can see now that the code is working as expected and it's running in the terminal. Alright guys, great job following along today. If you learned anything new, make sure you smash that like button. But just to recap, we installed Anaconda. Using the Anaconda prompt, we verified the installation, we created a new environment, and opened Jupyter Notebook. We then changed our attention over to Anaconda Navigator, the GUI, where we saw programs like Jupyter Notebook, VS Code, RStudio, and Spider. Then we went over updating it, and then started a new VS Code. We went over all the settings and everything like that, setting it up. we made a new file, hello world, printed it, and then we even changed our settings so that we'll be coding like a pro. Guys, if you like this kind of tutorial guide, make sure you like and follow Cypher-Fi for more. We're going to be putting out videos on Jupyter Notebooks, VS Code, and then real-life coding examples. So until next time, I'll see you guys then.